Hey everyone, Miss Langford here. You have made it to your last week of work before it is summer. We are almost there. You will be working with word problems, writing two-step equations, and solving today and Thursday. I know some of y'all really don't like this. You can do it. We're going to take it a step at a time. We're going to find keywords, figure out what we're trying to find instead of our equation, and solve. All right? So remember, if you have any questions, reach out to your teachers. We're here for you. We love you. We're ready for summer too. Let's do it. All right, so the first page of these notes is just clue words, things that you can look for if you're going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. And then we have just some tips. Define your variable, look for clue words, and decide which operation to use. And it says always check your work. And then remember, our goal is to isolate the variable by using inverse operations. You have to keep your equation balanced. All right, so let's get to it. Number 1, Dan bought 6 new baseball trading cards to add to his collection. The next day, his dog ate half of his collection. There are now only 30 cards left. How many cards did Dan start with? So, from the question itself. Let's not do that. Let's highlight it. We're trying to figure out Dan's starting amount. So, to figure out what my variable is going to represent, Dan's starting amount of cards. Alright, so X is going to represent the starting amount of playing cards or trading cards that he had. So it said that he bought 6 new baseball cards. So he had his amount, X, and then he bought 6 new cards. So if we think about buying something, are we adding to our collection or taking away? So if he bought it, that means he's adding to it, so we're going to add 6. The next sentence says, the next day, his dog ate half of his collection. I sure hope that's never happened to you. Ate half of his collection. So if an animal eats something, are they getting more or is it going away? In this case, eating half his collection means it went away. And half means whatever you start with, you divide it by 2. And I know after the dog ate half of his collection, he only had 30 cards left. So there is our equation. X plus 6 divided by 2 equals 30. Now I do have, a little expression above the division line, so I could think about this as one thing together. So in this case, I have to deal with the parentheses last. So I have a divided by 2. The inverse, the opposite of dividing by 2 would be to multiply each side by 2. When you do that, the 2's on the left cancel out, and you're left with X plus 6 equals 60. So then you only have one more step before X is by itself, before it's isolated. I have plus 6. The inverse of plus 6 is to subtract 6. So when you do that, you end up with X equals 54. So I know that Dan started with 54 trading cards. And that is my answer. I'll highlight it yellow. All right, number 2. Keith bought a soft drink for $4 and 9 candy bars. He spent a total of $40. how much did each candy bar cost? So the question in this problem is trying to figure out how much did each candy bar cost. So that is what we use to define our variable. So I know x is going to represent the cost of each candy bar. Okay, so I see here that he bought a soft drink for $4. One soft drink, $4. That has nothing to do with candy bars, so I don't put the variable with that term, so I just leave it as a constant 4. And then we have this little word and. So not only did he do a soft drink, he also bought candy bars. So in that case, that and represents plus. And then 9 candy bars. So I know my variable is the cost of each candy bar, and I know he bought 9 candy bars. Because those two things are similar, they're both dealing with candy bars, those two things are what go together to make 9x. And then all together, it cost $40. All right, when you have a standard generic equation like this, you're always needing to get rid of the constant first. Remember, a constant is a number by itself. There's no variable with it. So in this case, I have a 4. It is a positive 4. So the inverse of a positive 4 is negative 4. So we will subtract 4 on both sides. 4 minus 4 equals 0. I can cross those out, and then I bring down 9x. 40 minus 4 is 56. All right. Oh, sorry. I can't do math. It's not 56. It is 36, obviously. Sorry. So then 9x. 9 is being multiplied by x, so the inverse of that is to divide by 9. And then 9 divided by 9 is 1, so I have 1x left. And that would equal 4. So a candy bar costs $4. And I will circle it in the yellow. All right, number 3. Sam sold half of his candy bars. Oh, done with candy bars again. And then bought 7 more. He now has 11. How many did he begin with? So the question here is trying to figure out how many candy bars Sam started with. So that will be what my variable is. It's the starting amount of candy bars. All right, so I'm starting with x. Here it is. And it said Sam sold half of his candy bars. That's what he did first. He sold half. Remember, half. If you're going to half something, you're going to divide it by 2. So he has his X amount, and he decided he sold half of them. And then it says, and then, so that's the next step in this process, he bought 7 more. Keywords here. Buying something means your amount is getting bigger, and it has that word more there, which means I'm going to add 7. And it says he now has 11 candy bars. So in this equation, remember, you're going to deal with the constant first. The constant is the plus 7. So I have to subtract 7 on both sides. You have to do that to both sides to keep your equation balanced. So 7 minus 7 is 0. I bring down x divided by 2 equals 11 minus 7 leaves me with 4. So you could read this x over 2, but you could also read it x divided by 2. Actually saying what that little bar is mathematically helps us figure out what the inverse is. So x divided by 2, the inverse of dividing is to multiply. So I'm going to multiply each side by 2. So on the side with your variable, the 2's cancel, leaving you with x, and then 4 times 2 is 8. So Sam started with 8 candy bars. Alright, that is our answer. Alright, one more, guys. The sum of 3 consecutive numbers is 123. What is the smallest of the 3 numbers? Alright, quick review. That word consecutive. We've already dealt with it this year. It means in a row. So some examples of consecutive numbers. 1, 2, 3. 21, 22, 23. 58, 59, 60. Those are 3 consecutive numbers. Now, if you're thinking about the first number to the last one, every time you go up, you're increasing by 1. So if you started with 1, the next number you would have to add 1 to get to 2, and then you add 1 more to get to 3, so on and so forth. Okay, so we're going to think about that. In this problem, they need us to find the smallest of the 3. So I don't know any of the numbers, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it's going to be the smallest number. Now, if x is the smallest number, there's our first thing in our list. Oh, and there's one more keyword in this problem to figure out what we're doing with the 3 numbers. It has that word sum, which means I have to add them together. So let's just pretend, let's say x is 1. What would be my next number in the line? 2. So if I'm starting at 1 and I have to get to 2, I have to add 1 more. So in that case, it would be x plus 1. That would represent your second number. And then to represent the next number, you'd have to add 1 more. So 1 plus 1 equals 2. So I'll go ahead and put these in parentheses to let you see a little bit easier the 3 different consecutive numbers. No matter what number you put in those places, that would show that the 3 numbers are consecutive. They are in a row. And the last piece of information in here, it says is 123. Is a word that represents equals. So it equals 123. Now this equation looks a little bit different than all the other ones because we have multiple variables and multiple constants. Some of you might remember what you do before you start solving in this. You would have to combine like terms. I'll write it out for you. I use the shorthand in class to help out a little bit sometimes. So we would have to combine like terms first, which means putting together the terms that have the same variables or no variables at all. So in this case, if I look, I have 1, 2, 3 x's. So I would write 3x. And then I have, I'll go ahead and highlight these ones. I have a 1 and I have a 2. So if I add those together, I get 3. So at this step, I have combined my like terms where I cannot simplify or combine anything else together. So that equals 123. Now I just follow my process to solve for x. I have a plus 3 constant, so I'd have to subtract 3 on both sides to keep my equation balanced. 3 minus 3 is 0. Bring down 3x equals 123 minus 3 is 120. And then 3 times x, I would have to do divided by 3 on both sides. 3 divided by 3 leaves you with 1x left equals 40. So my thing I was looking for was the smallest number, which was x. So the smallest number is 40. And that is my final answer. Alright guys, for today's work, make sure you use these notes to help you. They are very, very beneficial to you. Alright, have a great day. Get this assignment done. You guys got it. You rock. You have one more on Thursday. And we're ready to peace out and go to summer. See see you guys. Come see your teachers next year.